Welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon, a retired NYPD detective with 20 plus years of law enforcement. And if you like all things true crime related from a police perspective, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you will get all things DutyRon when I upload another video or when I go live. I want to say a special thank you to my moderators, the replay viewers, my channel members, and all of my Patreon supporters, and everyone who subscribes to this wonderful community. Without the folks like you out there, we have nothing. So thank you, thank you, thank you to each and every one of you who positively interact in a respectful way. Again, these cases have real victims and real families behind these crime victims. So I appreciate each and every one of you showing the respect that you do show on a regular basis. You guys are tremendous. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the Lori Daybell Vallow, as I like to call her, Shallow Vallow. The new indictment that came down just a couple of days ago. Actually, this indictment came down last Thursday, but they only released it this week. Conspiracy to commit murder in the first degree against Charles Vallow. Guys, before we get into it, I want to just show you a quick little piece of media. This is very first time seen. Charles Vallow's brother, Jerry Vallow, and his wonderful wife, Melanie, gave an interview to East Idaho News, Nate Eaton. And I got to be honest with you, Jerry is my kind of guy. He gave it to Nate Eaton and the general public, and he let them know how he feels. He's angry, frustrated, and at the same time trying to express the family's concerns for his brother. So I'm going to let you listen to this quick 2-minute clip, and then we'll get into it with our special guest. We have Joe Murray, a fan favorite, and retired Detective Sergeant Bill Cannon. Detective Sergeant Bill Cannon ran the Manhattan North Homicide Squad. He ran the A-team. That's not just the regular guys. Those are the cream of the crop. So Bill Cannon is waiting to come aboard and say hello to everybody. So let's play this quick media for you so you guys can see the interview that was released this morning. This is Melanie Vallow and her husband, Jerry, Charles' brother.
About her competency, the fact that thoughts about her competency, the fact that right now in Idaho, she's not competent for her crimes. Are you hoping she will become competent? Do you think she's competent?
Oh, no, I'll tell you something. She ain't crazy. That knew exactly what she was doing. And that's the truth.
It's really hard for me to say because I'm not a medical doctor. I don't know what they've observed. I have to think, since the prosecutor has agreed at this point, there's got to be something. But I think there's a difference between insane and competency. And I think that she will become competent really soon. I mean, I really do. Because you can't get away with this forever. It's not going to go away in the state of Idaho. We know that. So I'm just going to let the Lord handle that. Whatever's going to be is going to be. But I really rather not judge her competency, even though I do believe she knew full well what she was doing. But her state right now, no, I don't. I can't really even answer that.
And do you think she should get the death penalty, serve life in prison?
If and when she is found guilty of her charges, what's that, 4 conspiracies or 3 conspiracies and 3 first-degree murders,
So much,
whatever. I don't write that down. I don't. But death penalty, I don't know. I'd rather see her rot in prison for the rest of her life and enjoy that kind of lifestyle.
I'm a proponent of the death penalty, strongly believe in the death penalty. And if there ever was a case, if it was proven beyond a reasonable doubt that there's a death penalty thing, it is this. But I have to agree with him. I think sometimes that's the easy way out. And so in this particular case, no, I would rather just see her do the rest of her life in jail.
What are your thoughts about Chad Daybell?
I think that motherfucker is gonna rot in prison too.
I freaking love Jerry. He basically said, I think that mother should rot in prison. So kudos to you, Jerry. You are definitely my kind of guy. Without further ado, let me introduce my guest, Joe Murray, criminal defense attorney, retired New York City police officer, a real great supporter and fan of the Crime Time with DutyRon show. Thank you, Joe, for taking out your time on a Friday night. This is 4th of July weekend. I appreciate your better half lending you to us on Friday. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
And my next guest, retired Sergeant Bill Cannon. He's no slouch either. He's co-host of Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. Bill runs a wonderful professional podcast and YouTube channel, Police Off the Cuff. If you're not yet subscribed, go over there, hit that bell, light it up. Bill Cannon, thank you so much for coming in and being with us tonight.
It's great to be here, DutyRon. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, I tell you, it's these cases that we talk about. It's always easy for me to get together with a fellow brother and sister in blue and talk about these things when we have guys like yourself, like Joe coming on, Irma, all the great ones. Barbara Butcher. It makes it easy. So I appreciate each and every one of the professionals that come on with these cases. Joe, I want to jump right into it with you. Lori Daybell Vallow. Last Thursday, they didn't release the information. Indicted on conspiracy to commit first-degree murder against Charles Vallow, her fifth husband. What's your thoughts on it? Just looking at it quickly.
Yeah, the indictment is, looking at the synopsis that was provided by Chandler, I agree with it. I think there's more. You only need probable cause to get an indictment, and there's more than enough evidence there. Although most of it is circumstantial, it's still evidence, and it's enough to convict somebody by. So I think it's more than appropriate. And if we go through it, you'll see how significant some of this material is.
Yeah, I agree. And Bill, you always talk about circumstantial evidence. When you have a pile of it, it kind of makes it almost easy to convict even without a body. But here we do have a body, but it's a lot of it is circumstantial evidence because now the perpetrator is deceased, Alex Cox. Any thoughts on that, Bill?
Ron, I love when you quote me and you remember things that I said. It shows you're listening. It's great. But yes, circumstantial evidence can be very, very powerful evidence when it's piled 6 feet high, in this case, 10 feet high, and it just becomes so powerful. And, so it's a pleasure to see when all the evidence starts coming together and you see the prosecutors just devising their strategy and methodically prod along on how they're going to take these two down. And that's a pleasure to watch.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more because, folks like this with extreme religious beliefs, and we'll get into that in a few moments, all of the audience and the folks who have been following this case, we've known since 2018, early 2019, that Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow at the time, and Daybell Vallow now, they had this extreme belief that the world was coming to the end, the 144, all of this craziness. And I always say in these live streams, any religion or any belief that's extreme is dangerous, and I know, Joe, you expanded on that the last time we got together. These two, it's clear and evident. And the people around them, this Melanie Gibb is no slouch either. Alex Cox's wife, they were all extreme with their religious beliefs, and they were dangerous. So
yeah, I agree. I think I want to be careful to distinguish. I'm not attacking religion in itself, because even my own religion and even in my own family, I have people who are devout Catholics and believe in, we are in, kind of the end times where there's going to be a miracle and a chastisement. And so I don't want to dismiss anyone's beliefs. They're entitled to their beliefs, but they have taken it to the 10th power where they're calling Charles Ned. He's been possessed and he's got a demon inside him, and they have to kill the demon so that his body can be reunited. Like, he's already dead. They considered him already dead, that Ned took over his body. I mean,
Right.
that to me is just, look, again, people's religion is First Amendment. It's something we have to respect. But something like that is dangerous, because look at the body count now. This has gone on undetected, and we resulted with at least 6 bodies now.
Yeah. And they were also, had failed attempts on a 7th person. So, lots of shots fired, lots of violent behavior. And it seemed like, and let me be clear about what I said about the extreme beliefs. You can be a devout Catholic. You can, like, my aunt is a Catholic nun. She goes to church every day. Okay. I'm not talking about those folks. I'm talking about people like the Reverend Jim Jones over in, with the come on and drink the Kool-Aid. That's when it becomes dangerous. Radical Islamic terrorism is dangerous. Regular Islamic beliefs and religion is not, in my eyes, dangerous. When it becomes radicalized, when you're over the top. And Charles Vallow, in no uncertain terms, said to the police and his own friends, if anything happens to me, she did it. He even changed his life insurance policy, $1 million life insurance policy. He changed it to his sister.
I wish you would have told Lori that, because it seems like, and from these papers, that Lori was taken by surprise. She thought she was going to inherit this death benefit. Maybe that would have made some kind of difference. I don't know.
I don't know, Bill. I know you're dying. You're chomping at the bit here.
Well, look. One of the things I'll just weigh in on is that a lot of evil hides behind religion. So some of the most evil people use religion as their cover, and they almost use it as a reason or to hide what their real evil intentions are.
Yeah. I mean, and we see that it's clear and evident here. These folks were able to operate undetected, and it's amazing, Bill, you said it on previous live streams when we covered this, how the law enforcement from the different agencies were not communicating with each other. We got bodies in Idaho. We've got bodies in Arizona, Utah. It's just insanity that law enforcement wasn't on board with communicating with each other and putting the pieces of the puzzle, as we always speak about, putting the pieces of the puzzle. These two were able to operate unscathed.
DutyRon, that's not unusual that law enforcement doesn't know what each other are doing. I mean, up until like maybe 20 years ago, the New York City Police Department didn't have a complaint follow-up system that was integrated, where people in other precincts could know what someone in another precinct was doing. In fact, you do a name search of a complaint system. They didn't even have the resources to do that. So you can imagine nationally, and not just that, police agencies are also very secretive, just as part of their nature.
Right.
And if you want to even go to another law enforcement agency that is known as the worst for that and hides behind national security, that's the FBI. The FBI doesn't share information with anybody. And if you ask them, they say, oh, it's a national security issue, which is bullshit. Excuse me, my French. But
right.
They hide behind that all the time. You even see when the FBI director gets questioned by Congress, how many questions does he not answer because he's claiming, oh, that's top secret,
Yeah.
Right.
And that's a
great point. Remember, pre-merge, we never got any information from housing. These are people right down the block from us.
You're right. You're right.
That's within the department. So now we're talking about agencies that are in different states. But it brings me to my next point is, like, we're going to get into looking at the indictment. And Joe, I'm going to weigh on you heavy to, maybe give us a little bit of, in layman's terms, because a lot of people are sending me questions like, hey, DutyRon, we don't need to get into it and answer it at this point, but, they're asking me like, hey, is Lori going to be extradited immediately to Arizona? Is she going to be able to use the same incompetent story and game that she's playing now, which, guys and girls, just by the way, that's a game she's not going to win. And I don't care what criminal defense attorneys here with us tonight, she's not going to win at that game, because they're going to deem her competent. They're going to fix her, and they're going to put her up, and she can continue to play that game and sit in a mental institution where people are, defecating and urinating all over the place. I don't think that she's the kind of girl that really can take much of that. But I think they'll make her right, and she's going to see that that's not going to be the way to go for her. But Joe, let's just, go on the outskirts, if you will, of this. What's the chances of them dropping what's going on here in Idaho and going straight to that? Slim to none, right?
No, I think, a lot of it has to do with who has the body. I mean, they have her, and they're in the course of a prosecution there. They're in the course of a very important competency evaluation and treatment. They're treating her to render her competent. I don't think that's going to be disturbed by a governor's warrant to return her to Arizona for the arraignment or indictment. I think they're going to keep her there because, think about it. If she's already been declared incompetent, the arraignment is meaningless, because unless she's able to comprehend and understand what's happening there, why even bring her there? So right. I don't think we're going to see that extradition right away. I do like, when I saw that synopsis, that these agencies are talking and they are working together. Looks like they're sharing information because they've come to the conclusion that a lot of this, what they originally thought was benign, is now suspect. And it's just so good to see that now collaboratively. Yeah.
Bill, you have anything on that?
Look, I mean, a lot of times people will hide behind these competency things, and then that can be, if someone understands what they did and what they did was wrong, then they're going to be found competent. I mean, insanity defense, Joe, and you know a lot more about it than I do. It's pretty tough to be declared insane.
Idaho does not recognize an insanity defense. So her uphill battle here is to be rendered competent to stand trial. They'll usually do that with medication. Right. And as I pointed out in the past, I think with this tidal wave of stuff happening to her, she was on her honeymoon in Hawaii, and now she's in a cell being charged with murder, a potential death penalty case. I mean, that's got to draw so much weight and stress on. I'm sure she's not sleeping. She's flighting in thought. So there's
Joe, is there any chance that they could flip her to put most of the weight on him?
I think what would be helpful, you have to wait until she's declared competent. They can't engage in any of that until she's competent. But I think there may be other people involved in this that we don't yet know. I mean, this guy wrote how many books? 20, 30 books. He's out there, pontificating about this, end of time and the 144,000. I think there may be others out there and other scenarios like this. I refuse to believe that this is an isolated situation. I mean, they are just so intertwined now, So I think to your point, it would be in the law enforcement's best interest to extend that olive branch and see if we can have a proffer queen for a day, come in and talk to us.
Yeah. Trish Norman sends in a $5 super chat, and she says, "What are your thoughts regarding Chad being the mastermind? To my knowledge, the murders did not start until Chad got involved with Lori." That's a very good point, Trish, because Lori, I think it was up until November of 2018 is when her husband, Charles, started indicating that she was going off the rails. And I think that was just right around the time that they met, or she started reading his books and doing those podcasts and all that craziness. But thank you for that super chat and that message. It could be possible, but that doesn't exonerate her, if she got into extreme beliefs due to Chad's scriptures or book reading or whatever you want to call it, book writing. You know, that's just going to show that they're, you know, obviously they were in this together. You know, everything's going to unfold in a court of law, and we're going to see it all happen. That's going to be the great part about this, is it's going to go on probably national television, and there's going to be coverage probably for it. But at the end of the day, I mean, I feel strongly that, and I'm not like one of these guys that like to bash the police, but I feel like we're talking about what happened in Arizona. Those guys dropped the ball, and in my eyes, 2 children were killed, and an adult after this all unfolded in Chandler. That should have been a murder homicide scene, and they made it a self-defense scene. And then this span of crime just continued on with Chad Daybell's wife, the 2 kids, and then Alex Cox. And they got rid of the guy, the Terminator. And he had all of a sudden started having chest pains and died. So at the end of the day, there was no closure on that case. Who kills him?
I feel about that, because that's a good point. Now, you know, in this time of, you know, ComStat and statistics, do you think there is some credibility to the allegation that once they found a credible theory, they just closed the case without, you know, by ignoring this other stuff? Because it's just, you know,
I just don't think they did a very good investigation, you know, and you can see there's different levels of police departments all across this great nation, you know, and not everyone is as competent as the big city police departments like New York, you know, Chicago, LA. You know, these police departments have basically a checks and balance system, a supervision system where, you know, the responding officers, they don't get to call a scene. The detectives get to the scene, and then the detectives have bosses. And then, as you know, on our job, a duty captain responds, but the detective bureau is the ones who make the call on a crime scene, whether it's a homicide, whether it's a justifiable shooting. And I mean, it's a real stretch that one where he shot his her husband twice in the chest was a justifiable shooting. I don't know how they came to that determination.
But that's a great point, Bill, because one of the issues that's in this synopsis is they evaluated the story that they were standing upright and he shot him twice in the chest. They blew that theory out. There was like a ricochet in the ground, like an exit wound from him on an upward trajectory, being shot, and it appears that he was shot while on the ground. That's something they could have determined.
You know, Joe, one of the things that if and look, you're a JD in law, but one of the things I used to teach criminal justice, and I always would say that investigation is an art and a science. And the science part could have disproved that this was a justifiable shooting. But I don't know if their scientists got to really look at this case the way they should have.
Yeah. Let's get into the you know, we went a little bit off track here, but we needed to talk about this because this sets up what we're going to talk about now, which is the State versus Lori Vallow, Chandler Police Department, the synopsis. And I'm going to put it up on the screen, and I'm going to ask Joe to go over it with you guys so we can get a better understanding from, you know, from someone from the law side. So let me put this up on the screen and make sure it's good enough for everybody to see. Are we good, Bill? Can you see that good?
Yeah, I can see it. Yep.
All right. So State versus Lori Vallow, Chandler Police Department, and it's a synopsis. I'll just start off reading it. On July 11th, 2019 at 08:32 hours, the Chandler Police Department was called to the address of redacted South Fork Four Peaks Place in Chandler, reference to a shooting. The caller, who identified himself as Alex Cox, indicated that he had shot his brother-in-law, Charles Vallow, in self-defense. As a result, a homicide investigation took place, and all pertaining parties to the incident were interviewed. The scene was also processed and analyzed based on these interviews. At the conclusion of the investigation on 7/11, there were concerns there was concern about a potential bullet strike on the ground near Charles Vallow's body. There was also concern regarding the timeline of events that came to light in the days following the homicide. None of these concerns would immediately provide probable cause for an arrest of anyone present at the time of the murder, or more investigation was necessary. And more investigation was necessary. I just got to talk about that paragraph with Detective Sergeant Bill Cannon. Bill, I mean, you got a guy who's saying someone came at him with a baseball bat and hit him in the head. It doesn't say anywhere in any reports that they checked him for injuries to the back of the head. I'm sure that they had to have done that. But in the video that we saw, and you watched it with me, I believe, and so did Joe, the responding officers just, I mean, people were walking all over that crime scene, and there was EMS going in and out, and you know, the potential perpetrator was sitting on the sidewalk, basically on, well, there's no sidewalk, but he was sitting on the curb, and he was left unattended. So I don't know. What do you think about this first statement here, this opening synopsis?
Well, the first thing you would do also, my question would be, where is the bat? You know, where is the bat that he was allegedly struck with? What type of injuries does he have to the back of the head, if any? And the other thing is, get him off the scene. Get him immediately into the back of a radio car and bring him into the detective squad where he should be put into an interview room. While he's fresh, while he's willing to talk, and he's not brought in under the guise of Miranda. He's right now, he's a potential, you know, justifiable shooting.
Yeah.
But the minute that changes and he crosses into being probable cause exists, then you have to read a Miranda, and the investigation is subject to Miranda. I don't know if any of those things occurred. I mean, from what I saw, they left him sitting on the curb. That's amateur policing 101, you know?
Yeah. I don't want to show it again, but let me quickly say thank you to the super chatters. Cecilia says billboard fun. Thank you, DutyRon, for the boys. Thank you. That'll go towards the digital billboard for Orrin and Orson West. Thank you for that. Lee McKenna says towards the billboards as well. Thank you for the $9.99 super chat from Scotland. Great to see you. Yeah, I mean, it just seems very, you know, the way this all went down and we saw it, it just, for me, looked really shabby. And like you said, Bill, certain departments don't handle homicides on a regular basis, like the New York City Police Department, the greatest detectives in the world, arguably. But it's not an excuse to not be competent when it comes to handling a crime scene like this. And if they had the information that we're going to read going forward, 40 some odd minutes went by before Alex called 911. If in fact that was true and they had that information, how is it deemed still? We're in 2021. It's now an indictment in 2021 when you had that information from, you know, in this occurrence was in 2019. It's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. I shake my head, and I'm not doing it to sensationalize it, but it just, for me, it seems unreal. So I'm going to read the rest of this. In the weeks following the murder of Charles.
Before you go, I just want to address, because remember now, this is the first paragraph of this synopsis where they've already identified concerns. We have a homicide here. You know, he has a defense of justification, but we have the elements to charge intentional murder. He shot and killed him. Now, I'm not saying he should have been charged, but once you are in the first paragraph identify concerns, I think those are more than concerns. I think there has to be more of an investigation. So just to be fair to them, I think we need to wait to see what those follow-up interviews were when they happened. Did he cut them off at any point in time and say, I want a lawyer, I don't want to talk? You know, but I think that initial interview is so important because you lock them down with every detail you can. You know, Phil Grimaldi really stresses that all the time when he speaks, that initial interview. And I think that's the concern here. in that
Yeah.
initial interview, his story is not checking out.
And it's crazy here in this next paragraph. It says, in the weeks, and I'm going to highlight it, in the weeks following the murder of Charles Vallow, investigators learned that Charles and Lori Vallow were experiencing turmoil in their marriage. The way I saw it, they knew about this before this murder occurred, because we have Charles Vallow on body cam film in a parking lot with a female and a male officer. I played it with you, I think, Joe, last time we were on. And
Sure.
he says to them, she took all my money. I can't make payroll for my business. She's talking crazy. She said she wants to kill me. How are they saying in this statement, in the weeks following the murder of Charles Vallow, investigators learned that Charles and Lori Vallow were experiencing turmoil in their marriage, when there had to have been DIRs put out, because she took his car. She took the keys and changed the locks to the house. He had to go in by the code to the garage door opener. The poor guy was begging and pleading with the police department in that area that they even sent her out to this Bridges program to deem her. Where is this thing? Yeah, they sent her out to this program to see if she was nuts, and they said that she was fine. So at the end of the day, this statement is concerning to me, because this to me seems like they're just backtracking.
But you know something, Ron, it seems like she also knew how to play the system. She played it like a violin, and
right. I understand that, Bill, but if the guy came in and made a complaint on several different occasions, they had to have documented that. So this just doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't make any sense. You're right.
Yeah. In the weeks following the murder of Charles Vallow, the investigators learned that Charles and Lori were experiencing turmoil in their marriage. As a result, Charles moved Lori into a residence on Four Peaks Place with Lori's daughter, Tylee Ryan, and their adoptive son, JJ Vallow, who was diagnosed with, so Charles Vallow remained in Texas and came into town to visit on 7/10 of 2019. When looking into the relationship between Lori and Charles, it was learned that Lori had accused Charles of infidelity, which led to their separation. It was also learned that during the uncertainty of the relationship, Lori and JJ with Charles, and Lori and JJ left with Charles and disappeared for over 2 months. It was also learned that Charles was concerned for Lori's mental health, as she began to express that she was selected to prepare 144,000 people for the end of the world. Concerned for her well-being and that of the children, Charles filed a mental health petition asking for mental health evaluation. This is exactly what I was looked on the paper for. Of course, I couldn't find it, but now they're spelling it out here. In this petition, Charles talked about how Lori had told him that he was possessed by a dark spirit named Ned Schneider. Lori would even refer to Charles in conversation and documentation by the name of Ned. This is how up she was. This turmoil in a relationship can be substantiated through police reports, court orders, police body cam footage, cell phone records, and witness testimony. So the way they're putting this together, I guess, I don't know, Joe or Bill, can you make any sense of this? I mean, I was saying that they weren't mentioning this, but they're mentioning it after the fact. They're saying up here that they come to learn afterwards, but they really learned this before he was.
Well, you know, Ron, one of the things, investigation 101 is when you, one of the first things you do is you do a complaint check, and to see what complaints were made against this person. And that would include domestic incident reports, criminal complaints, possibly mental health orders. All of those things should be part of the investigation.
Right.
In this document, it's acting like they found out about it weeks after the fact, but that should have been part of the investigation minute one when this alleged justifiable homicide occurred.
Alex Cox should have been brought in shortly thereafter. And listen, we know this. You conducted hundreds of homicide investigations. Sometimes you have a perp that's even right on the scene, but you don't have enough to get them. But then you grab them in the days or weeks to come. Most of the times with us, it's a couple of days later. Right, Bill? I mean, can you expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have probable cause, you can't just arrest somebody. You certainly can bring the person in and speak to them,
Right.
and try to get a statement. Like Phil Grimaldi says, you'll lock them into a statement,
Yeah.
and that statement at a later time could be the rope that hangs them.
Yeah. Joe, do you want to take over some of this?
Yeah, I mean, Bill's exactly right. I mean, that statement ends up being the probable cause when you're disproving the stuff that he said.
Right.
And, just like the 2 shots in the chest while we were standing, now that was disproved because of the ricochet on the floor next to the body. Then you start looking at, the timing of this. He was telling the dispatcher that he was giving CPR or something to that effect. It's in this document if you want to go through that.
Yes.
And
So this next paragraph talks about another person getting shot at and reporting that someone shot at him and arrived at home when he was exiting a vehicle in front of his Gilbert residence. He indicated the shot was fired from the back of a Jeep Wrangler parked down the street from his residence. Blank suspect. All this is redacted and it's for a specific reason. Fired at the back of the Jeep Wrangler parked down the street from his residence. Blank suspect suspected that the shooter was possibly Alex Cox. So, I mean, all of this stuff, this guy tried to kill somebody else, and he was just able to just continue to remain free. Ultimately, they wound up taking him out because dead men tell no tales, and we know how that goes. And I mean, that's just my guesstimate of it, but I think it's a pretty good guess that Alex Cox didn't just die naturally. He died because he was getting in the way, and he was going to. Anybody that tried to get in the way of Charles, Chad Daybell and Lori Daybell Vallow and didn't believe in their extreme beliefs wound up dead. And that's a fact, pretty much.
Ron, just as an aside, in my experience is that a majority of our homicides was solved by people making statements or people confessing. So if you don't try to go in there and use locking him into a statement and then using time, dates, evidence to refute what they just said, and when you bring them back in, then you're losing 3/4 of your investigation by not doing that.
Yeah. So I 100%. And here, this to me, this just sounds like a lot of backtracking and a lot of listen. This family, Charles Vallow, his brother, sister, they can't be happy with the Chandler Police Department. That's about all I could say right now. Is like this family was completely failed, and not only the family, the additional victims, 2 children, Chad Daybell's wife. I believe that they would all be alive if this investigation was done on the spot. But again, we don't have the records to what they had, but it looks like when we're looking at this, it looks like this is kind of ground ballish, Bill. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
You only get one chance to do things right. It's hard to correct a bad investigation. And it seems like even in this document, they're trying to cover the mistakes they made by all of a sudden they came to a realization, oh, this happened and that happened. But you should have known that the day this occurred,
Right.
not 2-3 weeks later. You should have brought that guy in and grilled him. I always said not to bring up the OJ case, but I always say one of the biggest mistakes made in that whole OJ case, and there was tons of them, but one of the biggest ones was when Lang and Van Adder, the 2 old-time detectives, had OJ Simpson in the box in the precinct, and they let him leave. He should have never left that box till he confessed. And he was close. And for some reason, they gave him too much celebrity respect, and he walked out. And then we all know what happened in that case.
Bill, it reminds me of an old-time detective that I worked with back when I was in housing. And he said to me, hey, kid, don't ever let someone's celebrity or good looks or charm let your guard down. Always stay focused on what the prize is. And the prize is bringing justice for a victim or a family member. So this is a guy who came on in the early 70s. He was part of the layoff in 74. So, or 75. So he came on probably in the early or late 60s. But he said that to me, and I'll never forget it. He said, don't let a pretty woman or somebody with fame and fortune let your guard down. Always do your job and do what you got to do. And I feel that when we saw Lori come into the precinct and make her complaints with her daughter, who's now deceased, she manipulated and totally worked those cops over with her hair flips and laughing and everything like that. They let
Rod, it reminds me of the movie Basic Instinct, where Sharon Stone is in the interrogation room and she's wearing a real short skirt, and all the detectives like, and she lit a cigarette. And I used to use that to teach my classes when I taught criminal justice. And I said, what would you do to take control of this interview? I said, the first thing I would do is I would get a blanket and cover her legs. And the second thing I would do is say, put the cigarette out. That's going to take total control of the interview, because she controlled that interview.
100%.
And that should never, ever happen.
A very good analogy, because in a sense, Lori did a similar thing here with her hair flips and lip gloss and smiling. And, it was just disgusting to see it. Fuzzy Doxy, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. She says, remember Lori right away mentioned how an ex-officer was her friend. She said that to the cop when she came in. She started dropping names, name dropping. And that guy is in on this group, Jason M. I don't know who that is, but I don't think he's in on my group. But I got what you're saying, Fuzzy Doxy. Thank you for that. All right, so let's continue on. I'll put this back on. Let's let the councilman, Joe Murray, take this. So this next paragraph is talking about while they're continuing to investigate the murder of Charles.
This is when they were looking for JJ and their concerns. They haven't been in touch with them, so they
Right.
contacted the police. So we
All
can
right,
skip that.
Yeah, we'll skip this. This is about the kids. This live stream is really concentrated on the conspiracy to commit murder, but they're actually spelling, and this is police work. You got to actually put everything together as a whole piece. As a result, investigators from the Chandler Police Department, Gilbert Police Department, Rexburg Police Department, Fremont County Sheriff's Office, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation began to coordinate efforts to locate JJ and Tylee. Okay, we're still talking about that. But
that sentence right there. As a result of the data recovered, it was believed that none of the mentioned crimes were coincidence or justifiable. So they had their aha moment where they realized what's really happening here. So they're now dispelling the justification arguments and coincidence arguments, and now they're looking at
right. Yeah, and it says above that, this coordinated effort consisted of numerous search warrants on telephone records. This is significant because the iCloud and all that stuff comes into play. Telephone records, social media accounts, bank records, medical records, email accounts, residence, and seized electronic devices. The death of Charles Vallow was also necessary in order for Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow to marry and fulfill their religious prophecy. That's a powerful statement right there. And that shows how extreme the beliefs of Lori and Chad were. So the death of Charles Vallow was necessary in order for Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow to marry. They didn't put in there the death of Charles' wife as well. Chad Daybell's wife. So again, this is showing how sick and twisted these people are. And I said it from the beginning, Lori Daybell Vallow, Shallow Vallow is and will continue to be a dangerous person. If she, God forbid, ever gets out, which I don't think that she will, more people will die. It was discovered that Lori Vallow believed she was an exalted goddess, and she and Chad were directed to lead 144,000 people in the preparing the end of the world. Through this investigation, many witnesses came forward and provided insight into this belief system. So it's corroborated by many witnesses. I'm sure that you know, all the folks that we heard from, Melanie Gibb and company, Alex's wife. We'll come to hear about her. And I'm not so sure that she's not free and clear. I think she's going to get collared too somewhere down the line. But I could be wrong. Those pertinent to the investigation were identified, and then there's a bunch of redacted stuff. It was also discovered that Lori and Chad believed that they had extraordinary abilities. Some of these abilities included the power to teleport. These people are crazy.
But
And
wait, now this is an important issue because we're talking about competency and we're talking about, you
yeah,
know,
this is where her nutbagism comes in with her attorney. She probably started talking about some of this with her attorney, and he said, she's out of her mind. This woman is fucked. Ooh, I didn't even believe that. It was discovered that Lori and Chad believed that they had extraordinary abilities. Some of these abilities included power to teleport and cause harm to others, the ability to call up natural disasters, Looney Tunes, and the ability to pray away demonic spirits attached to others, and also visionary capabilities. Because of these abilities provided to them, they felt that they were qualified to tell whether someone had a light or dark scale associated with them. And Charles was part of the dark scale. This scale would indicate whether or not they had demonic spirits attached to them. Lori and Chad would often refer to these dark spirits by actual name, by a certain level of spirit, or by using the term zombies. And we heard that with Tylee. She was a zombie, and she needed to be eliminated. Lori and Chad also shared a trust level, in parentheses, in referring to others. In examining the data, these dark scales were attached to redacted, Charles, JJ, and Tylee. Many others were also provided with a dark and light scales. Coincidentally, if you share their belief system, your score was favorable. And this is what I talked about. If you offered any opposition to their belief or destiny, you were seen as possessed. These
You know,
people,
Ron, this sounds like a religious cult that was destined to use a mass suicide. You know, we've seen that before. Jim Jones, there was that other guy, he was on the cover of Newsweek, and he called it Going Home, and he had like 1,000 people commit suicide with him, and he called it Going Home. These people sound like this is where they were heading towards.
right? Yeah, these people, and I said this before, way before this came out, that if you did not go along with their beliefs, you came up dead. So if you offered opposition to their beliefs or their destiny, you were seen as possessed. In reviewing the documents collected by the agencies involved, the following would show that Lori and Alex conspired to kill Charles Vallow on 7/11 of 2019. The first evidence to cause harm to Charles Vallow was discovered in a text message between Blank and Lori Vallow. And I think we believe that that is Zuella. I'm not sure if I'm saying her name right. Alex Cox's wife, Zuella. I'm just guessing, but I think it's a good guess. And Lori Vallow on 11/3 of 2018. And redacted is a friend of Lori Vallow's and also the widow of Alex Cox. Blank. Cellular phone was seized and data extracted by the Gilbert Police Department after the death of her husband, Alex. On November 3rd, 2018 at 1440 hours, that's 240 hours, Blank tells Lori that she was told by God that she is protected, Lori, that she is to protect Lori. In January of 2019, Blank told Lori that she had a vision that she could create storms and fire and will have the eye of the Lord. These people are freaking lunatics. This is utter insanity. And that's what makes this case so bizarre on many levels. I don't think, Bill, have you seen a case like this in New York City ever?
You know, not like intertwined like this in several states and, you know, different
How many homicide investigations have you conducted approximately?
200-300, I think.
That's a lot. That's a
Yeah.
lot of homicides. And, with the assists and everything and supplementals that you might have, been in on, maybe more. And this is just such a unique case. I mean, I've never heard, somebody, and it goes to show you that demons and evil people have no particular look to them. Like a lot of people say, oh, he looks like a criminal. She looks like a criminal. You look at this woman and even the guy, I mean, he just looked a little doofy to me, but you look at these two and you'd think they're not killing machines, but they really were, Let me acknowledge a quick super chat from Dr. Ed Moskowitz and Julie. I'm going to botch the name. Oh, she's going to kill me. But anyways, it's a pretty bad term of words. But Julie and Dr. Ed, thank you for the super chat. I call it super love. I appreciate the $20. Let me go back and try to find it. And I can't find it, but I'm calling it out. Fuzzy Doxy again came in with another super chat, $5. Thank you for that.
It's Julie Krenke.
Crinky. All right.
Crinky.
Thank you. I think I said it right once and she was like, DutyRon, you got it right. Nobody gets it right. And the second time around, Alzheimer's kicks in and I missed it. All right. Great. Thank you, Julie and Dr. Ed. I greatly appreciate it. She says, Mimi too. You're great. Thanks for always being help to DutyRon. Thank you for all the moderators and everybody. All right. So this is showing this complete and utter extreme beliefs. They can teleport. They can become, goddesses of the Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints or whatever it is that they're talking about here. So they're creating storms and fire, and it has the eye of the Lord and all kinds of gifts and craziness. Let's get to the next.
Wait, you missed a really important one. Go right back to where you were. The next sentence.
Okay, counsel.
On 2/6/2019 at 16:06 hours, Lori texted telling her that Charles was blocking her gifts. From this point forward, there is specific conversation to cause harm to Charles Vallow, who has also been referred to as the dark spirit called Hiplos or Ned. There is your motive. There it is. There's the plot. Now they're going to get him.
Unbelievable. I mean, this is stuff that you'd see like in like a Stephen King movie,
But something, DutyRon, what great evidence for a prosecutor to put this whole story together.
Right.
And it also has motive, but here it is in documents. It's documented,
Yeah, but the bad part about it is it's too late. They should have had this all wrapped up while this guy was still alive. And they're doing it in 2021. And I hate to be a party pooper or, a poo-poo in the police, but I got to call it as I see it, Bill. These guys really f***ed up, man. I mean, if you had this evidence in the cloud, and this is all electronic evidence, this is freaking through iCloud and phone subpoenas. You got the FBI working on this thing. Why couldn't they have gotten this stuff? I mean, I hate to be a shoulda, coulda, woulda, but this is still a black eye. This is a black eye because a lot of people died after this. All right, through text messages. Let me get this up so everyone can see it. So this is where it spells it out. I'm going to highlight it all. Through text messages between Lori and Chad that were seen on Charles' phone, Lori would return to Texas on 6/3 of 2019. 6/3/2019 at 21:32 hours. That's 9:32 at night. Lori to blank just got home and got JJ to sleep. Let's go spiritually tonight and work on him. And I think that is to Alex Cox's wife, Zuela. Oh, I don't even know if I'm saying her name right, but who cares? They're all lunatics. I think that was to Zuela. Let's go and what did she refer it in the morning? I want to meet you at the temple in the morning. I have time tomorrow and we can work on Hiplos. Here's another one of the Joe, right? Here's another one of these. Would you feel comfortable representing Lori Vallow?
Tough case, boy. Tough case.
It's crazy. And her attorney, Mark Mr. Means, right? That's her attorney. He's got his hands full. And this guy's got not much experience in a homicide case, literally none. Looking into Lori Vallow's web history using blank blank, I saw that web search was conducted on 6/21 of 2019. Now, remember, folks, Charles Vallow was killed in July of 2019. So this is just
July 11th, yeah.
Yeah. So this is just a month before. Lori Vallow's web history using blank was conducted on 6/21/19 for Social Security disability. Here's the money hungry dollar signs. She's got dollar signs in her eyes and demons in my view. Utilizing the URL attached to this web search, it took me to the Social Security disability application. The form allowed you to enter the applicant's information to be able to obtain free benefits evaluation. This search is important as it would indicate an inquiry as to the benefits that Lori would be entitled to. In a text message that Lori sent to Chad Daybell on 7/18, 1 week after Charles was murdered, she indicated the following. This is shocking. So I talked to the insurance company. He changed it in March. So it was probably Ned before we got rid of him.
Ouch.
They can't tell me to who, of course, but it's done. I'll still get that $4,000 a month from Social Security. What a
That's pretty strong evidence, don't you think, Joe?
Before we got rid of him, yikes. That says it all.
Yeah.
counsel. How good of a case do they have here?
The only hope she has in a case like this is for her to give meaning to these words and possibly some kind of justification defense based on her distorted beliefs that these people were going to kill her.
Bill, I had to put you back on just to see the look on your face when Councilman Murray was saying that. I'm afraid to even look at the chat.
Yeah, but you have to look at what really happened. And I do believe this wasn't a crime for money. This was their belief that these people are
Joe. All right. So I love you, man. I love you. And I get what you're saying. But this is a belief and a 50% money. It's half, brother. I don't see this. Thank you, Bill.
No, she wanted the insurance and she got the SSI. She didn't get the insurance because he smartly made someone else the beneficiary.
Right. And whoever's sensitive to cursing, you might as well just cover your ears. This fucking woman wanted to be a nutbag and to have a lot of money. She was pissed about the $1 million that went to Kay Woodcock, right? She says it right here. Let me pull this thing back.
Hey, Ron, religious zealots love money.
Oh, shoot. It dispels it out. So I talked to the insurance company. He changed it in March. That's when she was acting like a complete lunatic. So it was probably Ned before we got rid of him. They can't tell me to who, of course, but it's done. I still get that $4,000 from Social Security, though. So I'm Joe. And like I said, I know what you're saying, and I respect it. But this is a half based on these statements alone. You know, she wanted $1 million, and now she's like, well, at least we got $4,000 a month. What a piece of dirt. I mean,
just from the criminal defense standpoint, I told you I looked up their statutes, and here's one of the recent changes to the law of justification. And in section 2, it says defense of self or another does not require a person to wait until he or she ascertains whether the danger is apparent or real. Real. She's not required to wait to see if it's real. A person confronted with such a danger has a clear right to act upon appearances, such as would influence the actions of a reasonable person. But wait, when you hear reasonable person, in the exercise of the right of self-defense or defense of another, a person need not retreat from any place that person has a right to be. A person may say, all right, that's stand your ground. Where's the other part? So, okay, here it is. A person may stand his ground or defend himself or another person by the use of all force and means which would appear to be necessary to a reasonable person in a similar situation and with similar knowledge without the benefit of hindsight. They're pretty much spelling it out for her. If you sincerely believe this, and another person of your beliefs with similar knowledge interpreted the signs of zombieism. I mean, this is really, I mean,
Do
I
you think
can't
a
believe what
jury?
I'm reading here.
Do you think a jury is going to interpret that and look at this evidence and then say, "Oh, well, she
I'm
really
not trying to
she didn't
win
know."
her case. I'm just trying to tell you what I think
Right,
happened, what I think they're going to do. There's really no other way.
right,
I mean, I think that's what happened. I think she really
right.
was so swallowed by this Chad Daybell's writings and teachings and believed that she was the goddess of the 144,000, and she bought into it. And now
Is
interpreting
that
it,
Joe? Is that somewhat like a Manson defense? Like the
yes,
Manson family
exactly.
controlled by his charisma and his power and all of that stuff, right?
It's
Yeah.
exactly
All
it.
right. All right.
Yeah.
So MC's audio comes in with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Mike. I'm not going to sleep tonight, guys, after this stream, says MC's audio. You could take his Xanax and you'll fall asleep fine. I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. Thank you so much for Dr. Ed and Julie. She said, DutyRon, I forgot to tell you, that's for our boys, the billboard from Dr. Ed Moskowitz. Thank you so much for the super chat. It will go there.
Last thing I just want to throw in there on this statute, it became effective July 1st, 2018. Section 4 says, in any prosecution for the unlawful use of force, including deadly force, or the attempted or threatened use of force, contrary to Title 18 Idaho Code, the burden is on the prosecution to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the use of force, attempted use of force, or threat to use force was not justifiable. Have you ever heard of such a thing? It's not the defendant's burden, it's the prosecution. They have the burden. That's incredible.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Kalisha Elaine Williams, thank you for the $5 super chat. She says, moral of the story, in Nephi, they killed Laban, claiming it was better than one man should perish, that the nation should dwindle and perish in unbelief. Thank you for that statement, and thank you for that super chat. Terrible. This whole thing is a terrible situation, but now we have it in writing here. And I want to continue quickly as we're talking. Lori would not have known this without completing. She's talking about the $4,000 in Social Security benefits. She would not know this without completing the online benefit evaluation. Furthermore, the Social Security Administration did not have any contact with Lori until she attended an appointment with them on August 12th of 2019 at 13:30 hours. That's 1:30 in the afternoon. This appointment date was located in Lori's iCloud account. It was at this time that Lori was provided with the actual amount of the benefit, which was close to that $4,000 she reported to Crazy Chad in July. This is a lot of electronic evidence, and I'm thankful for iCloud and for these people being stupid. And I think that some of this stuff was obtained from Alex Cox's wife. I'm not 100%, but I'm thinking that some of this was taken from her iCloud too, as well, because don't forget they take everything. Andy Crayons comes in with a $5 super chat, and she says, Joe, with hearts, that means you're handsome. She said, Joe, love you, but this is exactly what she wants people to believe. She wanted money, and telling Chad that she believed in him was the fast way to murder and to get money. Could be. I mean, these are all opinions. But again, that's the defense. Joe, in no uncertain terms, likes what happened here or believes, that Lori was completely innocent here. But he's giving us a bird's eye view of what potentially her defense could go with. And I thank you for that, Joe. Kirby 1150 sends in a $5 super chat. She says, Joe, after Barry goes to trial, will we ever know if he confessed to what happened to Suzanne Morphew? We don't really go off of what we're talking about here. So the topic of this show is the indictment for conspiracy to commit murder in the first degree against Chad Vallow, Charles Vallow, her husband, ex-husband. So we're not going to get into that. We don't like to just go off track. But thank you, Kirby, for that super chat. Greatly appreciate that. So let's continue with this this document. We're almost done. On 6/22 of 2019, Alex Cox enters the conversation regarding Hiplos or Charles Vallow. 6/22, Alex started to text blank from blank. Through a search warrant, this number was identified as belonging to Alex Cox. On 6/22, 2019, at 19:02 hours, that's 7:02 p.m., Alex sent blank a message. Hey, it's Alex. 6/27/19 at 10:18 in the morning, he texts blank to Lori. Do you think there is a way to change Hiplos to light? That means bringing him out of the darkness. So he was trying to save Hiplos. And Hiplos is Charles Vallow. On 6/29, Charles Vallow discovers a fictitious letter that Lori sent to blank. This letter was written as if it was from Charles, asking Chad Daybell to come to Arizona to assist him with writing a book. This discovery would send everything into action. Charles confronted Lori about the fictitious letter, accusing her of writing the letter so Chad Daybell could provide a reason to his wife to come to Arizona to visit Lori. Charles asked Lori to come clean about her relationship with Chad, which we all know Lori Daybell Vallow told the police and everybody that Charles was cheating on her, when in fact she was in love with this psycho Chad Daybell. By the end of the day, or he said he wanted her to come clean by the end of the day, or he would contact Tammy Daybell, Chad Daybell's wife, and inform her of their relationship. And I think this is where he became dark to her because he was telling her, either you come clean or I'm going to expose you. And that was a short time before he was killed. Following the discovery of this letter, Charles Vallow began talking to blank, Lori and Alex's brother, in parentheses, about his discovery, as well as Lori's radical beliefs. Well, that was a word I used, radical beliefs. The two then communicated with each other to plan an intervention on or around 7:10. Charles had arranged to come to Arizona and also arranged to travel for blank. During this time, blank, Lori, and Chad continued a message about Charles, aka Hiplos. I got to look that up just because I'm curious. Not now. There's no obvious communication found between Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell to show that he was directly involved with the planning of Charles Vallow's murder. Lori Vallow found out about blank coming to town through her mother and blank. Lori found out about the potential intervention on 7/9. She reached out to Alex Cox, blank, and blank to warn them of the elaborate plan that blank and Charles had. Blank and his son blank were picked up at the airport on 7/10 by blank mother. Blank provided Lori with updates regarding whereabouts and asked Lori if she wanted to run interference. Lori told blank that she was trying to figure it out. There is no indication who blank was talking about killing. In a text message found on blank's iCloud, blank asked Lori if she wanted to have their mother do a preemptive strike and confront blank blank. Told their mother no and asked that she just collect information. Wow. Based on the text messages that were located, it was apparent that they were trying to keep blank away from Alex and come up with a plan of their own. Lori told her sister she was heading to Alex's house on 7/10 at 15:58. That's 3:58 in the afternoon. During this time, she continued to message Charles and never once confronted him about her knowing that something was planned. Lori reached out to blank and convinced her to cancel the trip to Utah for a wedding, telling her, you can go at all. You can't go at all. We both need to stay here to defend ourselves. Lori added, it's coming to a head. This week, we will change everything. Wow. Lori would also tell Alex, getting sleepy, so I'm going to need you to stay close to me the next couple of days. Blank 2. She can't go to Utah. They are planking some kind of intervention, but want blank out of the way, so I'm left alone. I need to come and get the stuff at your house tomorrow and secure it. Lots to do. Thank you for standing by me. It's all coming to a head this week. I will be like, Neffy, I told you, and so will you. Neffy. Who's Neffy, Bill?
It's another name that they invented, a religious name.
It's crazy. These are nutbags. I'm so glad that she's behind bars and Chad's behind bars, and they'll never see the light of day, hopefully, with a successful prosecution. But these are really, and it's scary because there's lots of other people roaming around just like these folks. These aren't the only ones. There's tons of these crazy whacks running around. On July 11th, 2019, at 7:35 hours, this is the day that he was killed. Charles Vallow arrives at blank South Four Peaks place to pick up JJ. When he arrived, he texts blank, telling him that Alex was there. Blank told Charles that they were planning something, and Charles stated absolutely. Blank indicated that he was supposed to spend the night with Alex, but Lori probably blocked this. Following the murder of Charles Vallow, Lori took his rental vehicle and a cellular phone. The GPS data associated with this phone, let me highlight this because this is important. The GPS data associated with the phone indicated that the phone left the residence at 07:49 hours. Lori then went to Burger King to get food for JJ, Walgreens to get flip-flops. This was for some pool party or something she was attending for her and Tylee, and finally returned home at 08:48 hours. Alex Cox would not call 911 until 8:32 hours to report the shooting. When reporting the incident, Alex indicated it had just happened. He was provided with CPR instructions, and he acted as if he was performing life-saving measures on Charles. It was not until emergency personnel began life-saving measures that they saw blood coming from Charles's body. This would indicate that Alex performed no emergency aid. Based on the timeline, Charles Vallow would have laid dead or dying for approximately 43 minutes before Alex called 911. During this time, phone records indicate that Alex called Lori while Charles laid on the floor, dying or dead. How crazy is that, guys?
Well, this was a hit. He wasn't going to do CPR on his hit, you know.
And we listened to the 911. I heard the call. He made it like he was doing the CPR. At first, he was reluctant. You know, he showed reluctancy, and then he said, "All right, I'll go do it." But he laid there on the floor for 43 minutes before he even called 911. Crazy, crazy people, man. And you know, it is what it is. Let's just wrap this up. I mean, the rest of this is just here's a little bit more of shocking stuff. I'm going to continue reading this and we'll wrap it up, guys. Lori, Tylee, and Alex told investigators about a physical altercation that was started by Charles, which is bullcrap. During this altercation, Lori left the residence with Tylee and JJ. As they were leaving, Tylee and Lori reported hearing gunshots. Based on this investigation, it has been proven how valuable Alex Cox was to Lori. His mission on Earth was to protect his sister. And then there's a bunch of redacted stuff there, or covered up stuff. The shot into Charles' body as he laid on the floor, and Bill, you talked about this, and the delay in calling 911 would also validate their desire for him to die. In addition, Lori told police that Alex was asked to stay at her house to protect her from Charles. When he arrived on 7/11/2020, Alex denied this and stated that he stayed at the house because they were going to go to a water park or go shooting on 7/11. They
did go shooting, but not to a range.
Exactly. And that's the sick and sad part, is that he said that. As a part of this investigation, Alex performed a walkthrough for investigators. Alex indicated that Charles was coming at him. He shot him twice in the chest while Charles was standing. Trajectory and autopsy discovery that one of these shots would be consistent with the statement.
DutyRon, just to also, suspect should never be allowed back into a crime scene. That is a golden rule. Never, ever do you allow him to go back, because a defense attorney like Joe Murray can have a field day with that.
Look, he's smiling.
Yeah, he knows that he knows that golden rule.
Yeah.
So here we go. As a part of this investigation, Alex performed the walkthrough for the investigators. Alex indicated that Charles was coming at him. He shot him twice in the chest while Charles was standing. Trajectory and autopsy discovery that one of these shots would be consistent with the statement. This shot would have gone through Charles and ended up in the baseboard. However, the second shot entered below Charles' rib cage and exited through his upper left shoulder, causing a shored wound and defect in the flooring where Charles was found. This angle would indicate that Charles was already lying on the floor when the second shot was fired. He was probably over him and just boom, shot the shot into him. It's a cruel and vicious thing to do to somebody. I mean, this is a cold-blooded murder. After the murder of Charles Vallow, additional text messages and emails were located that would indicate the murder was intentional and according to a master plan. One of these was a message sent to Lori from Chad Daybell. The message read, "I got the inspiration to go back to my original death percentages that helped us track Charles, Ned, etc. Tammy is very close." Now, his wife was still alive. Tammy is very close. Her percentage has fallen steadily since Hiplos left. It's encouraging. Heart and kisses. That's disgusting. This is unbelievable, man. Messages on Blank's phone would also show the intentionality of the murder of Charles Vallow. 7/11/19 at 23:31 hours. That's 11:31 at night. Blank to Lori. As I was working on Hiplos today in the temple, I was told he would be taken as he is. I don't know what that means. Then I was shown to only put light, the brightest light from the top and bottom at the same time, meeting in the middle. So I've been doing that all day. Wow, these are whack jobs. 7/12 of 2019 at 23:36 hours to blank. Oh, okay. Hiplos is gone. And there's the confirmatory. It was Nafati Laban ending. Now they're going on to different people, different names. I will tell you more when I see you in person or when you see Lori in person. I'm leaving for Chile on Monday for 2 weeks. Wow. And there's more.
Say this is about money. How could you say that when you read this
Well,
stuff?
Because there's $1 million life insurance policy that she's pissed off she didn't get, and
I'm
she's talking about
sure.
$4,000. Don't forget, Joe, she collected money on her dead kids. That's how I could say it's for money.
Yes, but
Collected money on her dead children.
But reading all of this, I mean, clearly this is, a distorted belief that just transmuted and
Yeah, they're
it's
talking about.
horrible.
Yeah, they're talking now about the Book of Mormon, and is commanded by his father. Blah blah blah. They're going into all this religious stuff. The story can be found in the Book of Mormon's First Nephi chapters 3 and 4 through, and they so they're going into some backgrounds on this extreme religious beliefs. Both indicated that they were told long before 7/11 that Charles had died. Blah blah blah. So there's a lot of. This is the end of it. So let me get this. Let me be done with this. The bottom line here is, and there's a lot of questions. People are asking, what are the timelines? I feel, and I think we all are in agreement that they're going to take care of her current case, and trial is going to commence or not commence or whatever happens there. And then after she's sentenced or after she's found guilty or not guilty, they will either bring her here or could they run like just what happens, Joe? You'll know more about this.
There's a couple of issues that come up now. I don't know if Arizona is a death penalty state. I know Idaho is. So let's just say, for argument's sake, Idaho elects to pursue a death penalty in this case. And she's tried and convicted, both of them tried and convicted, and they receive a sentence of death. Well, they have a right to now extradite them to Arizona. But I'm telling you, if it was New York and they extradited them to New York, they would give them their sentence and they wouldn't release them. And they would keep them here in New York to prevent them from getting the death penalty. I mean, there's bizarre stuff that can happen.
It's ideological. That's
Yeah.
why they would do that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. A very sick, convoluted case that has so many different aspects to it. And, you know, I am in agreement with you, Joe. She's not mentally all there. But it seems like she uses this unstable demeanor when it works for her. Because when you saw her, when she went into that police department and tried to make that complaint against Charles, she was all there. She wasn't talking about this nonsense.
Mhm.
So it seems to me, you know, as an outsider looking in, is that she conveniently uses these crazy beliefs when it's to justify her getting rid of somebody. But when everything's normal and she wants to get, you know, Gucci bags and Prada and drive around in new Jeeps and get a Lexus truck and get all of this stuff and go to Hawaii and fly first class and, you know, be the wife of an author, you know, then everything is normal and everybody else is crazy. So I see right through this as an investigator, and Bill, I know you do too. I know that, you know, you kind of feel the same way, but I see what you're saying, Joe, and I understand it 100%. But
You do have to look at that. The first thing I would do in this case is, what happened? What did you believe that caused you to do all these things you did? What happened? And I'm sure that going through their story and telling, this is what I thought, this is what I saw, this is what I believed, you know, that's where this is going to go. I could just see it.
Retired Detective Sergeant Bill Cannon from the Manhattan North Homicide. What you feeling? What do you think? What? I mean, I just gave you what I feel about this. What do you feel about Lori Vallow?
I think they're finished. Both of them. I think they're going to get convicted of the highest charges, whatever state has the death penalty. If any of the states that they committed a murder in has it, I would go for that. I mean, these two deserve it. Had they gotten away with this, they would continue to kill people. I really believe that.
What do you feel her main primary motivating factor is here, Bill? If you had to guess at it, I'm not saying that.
Well, I would say it's money mixed with religious ideology, and religious more than ideology, being a religious nutcase.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. I think we can all agree on that she had extreme, and I said it from the beginning before I even deep dived into this, the extreme beliefs in anything. It could be extreme beliefs in the end of the world. You don't even have to have religion into this element, but you know, they were religious as well. The people of the LDS church are, for the most part, all good people. It's the people who are extreme and over the top that make it dangerous. There's extremists in Christianity that are very deadly, dangerous people. So at the end of the day, I feel that, you know, the victims and their families are left behind to deal with this, the fallout. You have grandparents, grandchildren, children, stepchildren, you know, aunts, uncles, cousins, friends, relatives, you name it. They're all the folks that have to, you know, deal with this aftermath and the questions and why. I'm going to look in the private chat quickly and see what questions we have. Crime Girl, and then we'll wrap it up. I know I owe you guys overtime. Bill's like, I got a spin cycle class in the morning.
That's right, 9:15.
What the you doing to me? I'm coming up your way after we get off. If you give me your address, I'll drop off the box with the mic on your front step if you don't think so. Feel it. Crime Girl says, for DutyRon and guests, both of them, how do you think the Vallow case is going to go, since she is in the hospital right now? Have you ever dealt with a case like this in your investigative career over the years? I think we have already answered it. Bill and I both said we've never seen anything like this. And I don't think Joe, as a police officer and as a defense attorney, has seen anything like that.
No.
So that's that question. Thank you, Crime Girl, for that question. Josh puts in 12-step woman. Does Lori do her time in Idaho first if found guilty before she's extradited to stand trial in Arizona? Yes, that's what we just talked about. So we answered that question. Crime Girl comes in for a double banger. She says, how does it change the course of the case if she's found to be psychosymmetric? If she's found to be nuts, how does it affect the case? If they find her incompetent, that she can't come back, what goes on there? Joe, do you want to take that?
She can't be tried, so there'll be a civil commitment, because she does present as a danger. So she'll be civilly committed. Either way, she'll be incarcerated.
Incarcerated in a mental institution.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's even worse than being in prison. And we can all agree to that. There's a bunch of nuts in there.
There's only two people that count time. Convicts and cops. They're counting the days until the end of when they collect their pension, cops, and then convicts, because there's a light at the end of the tunnel in some way. When you're in a mental institution on a civil commitment, you're there until they decide that you are no longer a danger.
Yeah.
And that could be never.
Mimi J2 comes in with a question. My question is it that it's not clear whether she went downhill immediately or later in her incarceration? Well, she's technically not incarcerated, but while she was in custody, I think that this was a slow progression because she was at many hearings and many proceedings over the time, and this issue never came up. The issue came up when these heavy charges came down, when the conspiracy to commit murder, the murder first degree, that's when she lost it. So it seems like it was and it was just timing that it seemed convenient for her when the hit the fan. She was like, oh no. That's my read on it. I don't know, Bill. What do you think?
Nah, look, she's got so much against her that what is she going to do? I mean, she's basically plead insanity or take it and take her chances on the religious exemption there too. Just saying she was forced to do it because she was under the spell of this religious zealot who was like the high priest that ordered her around to do, and that's why she did it. That could be a defense also.
I think it's a game that she's playing that she's not going to win at. That's the way I see it. I mean, either way, at the end of the day, she's not going to be free. And that's what she's trying to do. She's trying in her head to get out of this and somehow get out and continue her whatever, her craziness. Leanne Volvo says, do the guests think Lori would have gotten rid of Chad when she got to go and do whatever she was going for? She used everyone. I mean, that would be a guess, and who knows? I mean, we're not at that point because she didn't do it, but I think she looked at him like he was the Messiah, really, in my eyes. So I don't think she would get rid of Chad. Debbie Lewis, if Lori is indeed found schizophrenic, there is schizophrenia in her family history. How does this affect the case and in regards to the sentence? We just covered that. So we're done with the questions. Let me go to the chat quickly and say thank you to everyone for being in here. If you're new, please put new in the chat, first time into this live stream. If you aren't new, let me know where you're watching, city and state, so we can say hello to you. And I want to remind everybody to please go over and subscribe to Police Off the Cuff. Joe and I will always wholeheartedly agree. He's got a great channel over there. He covers wonderful cases with great guests. He's entertaining, he's engaging, and he is interactive with his audience. And I highly recommend everyone who is here and part of the DutyRon family, if you're not subscribed to Police Off the Cuff, you're doing yourself a disservice. And I'm not just saying that because Bill's here, because I say it when he's not here. Go and subscribe to his channel. Him and Mark are doing a great job over there, and they somehow stole Josh, the producer, from me. So I'm going to add, if Josh is not 3 sheets to the wind, I want to add him right now.
Yeah, we got Josh tied up in the closet.
Yeah. Josh, can you breathe by putting a one? Let us know you're alive, Josh.
That's funny.
Is he here, Josh? All right, he must have fell asleep.
Hey,
But-
shout out to Tier Talk. I saw Anthony Ganji on there. I was just looking at the chat. I saw him there. So how you doing, Ant?
Anthony, great to see you. Black Rose, Dawn Marie, great to see you. Lily G, thank you for being here. Sunshine Daydreamer from Ohio. Hello from Puerto Rico. Good to see you. Let me see the news coming in. Crime Ghost says I'm new. Black Rose is here. She's not new. Florida, Sheila is from Illinois and coming in, and she's a good friend and a supporter from Ireland. So great to see you now here in the States. Topeka, Kansas. Thank you for joining. Crime Ghost, Fuzzy Doxy. Thank you. Let's see who's new. Anybody? Great show from Brooklyn, New York, says Lily G. Yeah, we're neighbors. We can reach out and touch one another. British Columbia, Canada. Thank you for joining. Diane B, who is a good friend of mine right across the street, my neighbor. She continually throws rocks. Joe, is there anything I could do about that? Is there an order of protection I can get? She throws little pebbles at my window when I'm live streaming.
That's a private nuisance. There's a cause of action for that.
Right, we need to talk. We need to talk. Hello from Mount Vernon, Ohio. Great to see you. Jen Lowe made it here. Good to see you. Great to have you in, Jen Lowe. Fracture Breakdown, thank you for being a channel member. Janine Goodwin, always here and present. 12 Step. Hello, CC Cummings. Thank you for joining. Mike's MC Audio, New Haven. He's still up. Wow, this is past his bedtime.
Yeah, he's got to
Like
go to bed.
the-
He's got to go to bed.
If we asked him to talk right now, he'd be like, "No, my mom."
I went to New Haven 2 weeks ago and I had pizza
I
with him.
saw the picture. That was great,
Yeah.
Bill. That's awesome.
Myself and Irma. Irma drove me. Don't ever drive in a car with Irma. Oh my God.
I was actually kind of jealous that you were with Irma, and I wasn't. I
Oh,
want to meet
yeah,
her.
but my heart was in my mouth during that whole drive.
Oh
She
my
has
God.
a phobia of bridges. Be
Oh,
careful.
Mary T,
God.
Mary T says, "Great show. Thank you so much from Brazil." Wow, very good. Who else? Let's see. Anybody else? Somebody has a message for you, Bill. Where did you teach criminal justice, Bill?
Oh, I taught at Monroe College in New Rochelle and in the Bronx.
Excellent. Trish Norman is coming in from Tennessee. Thank you for joining. I always like to do this because it gives everybody that has been patient during the course of the show. We wanted to get some factual information put out to you by the experts. Joe Murray is a criminal defense attorney. If you're not if you're not familiar with his law firm, criminal defense attorney Joe Murray's got a website. I'll link it down below. And if you go to DutyRon.com, you will see Joe Murray's website hyperlinked onto my website. I will link it down below where you could just click on it and it will send you to joemurraylaw.com. He's a supporter of Bill Police Off the Cuff. I haven't gotten him to advertise on my show because I don't do that.
He's probably getting more business from our site just because if you're in any trouble, have Joe Murray represent you.
Joe Murray's a channel member. And
Emails, phone calls. It's great.
he's a channel member and he helps all of us out by coming on here. And $5.50 an hour is his billing rate.
Yeah, right.
He only bills me $2.50, so he's really good with me. But yes, thank you to my guests. An hour and 33 minutes. This is one of my longer streams. I appreciate each and every one of you here being in on the live stream, the live chatters, the replay viewers. You guys are fantastic. I thank you so much for that. I want to just go full screen just for a second with myself to give an important message. Guys and girls, these are cases where we're talking about victims and their families. There's lots of folks who are watching these live streams, and I want to just again say another message. It's important for our content creators to understand that the victims and their families do watch these things. And for those of you who are continually going back and forth and over again on closed cases like the Chris Watts case, you have the Rusek family who is asking everybody to stop talking about their daughter, their grandchildren, and their unborn grandson who was brutally murdered by their father some time ago, to stop with the conversation about him. And I would implore each and every one of you who are continually doing these live streams to consider stop doing them on the Chris Watts case. Sandy and Frank Sr. have gone on social media and to the national news and made statements, and people just continue to disrespect them. And I ask that everybody please understand that these are people who are in mourning. They have real situations and real things that they have to deal with. And I'm just saying it's very important for people to just have some compassion for these folks. And I can't overemphasize the importance of that. So please, folks, consider just stopping with the Chris Watts stuff and let that case rest. The case is closed. This is an open case that we're talking about, and it's intertwined and very ongoing. So we will continue to talk about this case with respect and dignity. And as I always say, thank you, gentlemen, for joining. God bless the world. God bless the United States of America. And God bless each and every one of us here in the chat and all victims of crime across the globe and their families. Thank you so much. Happy 4th of July for you, those of you who are celebrating here in the United States. And I will see you on the next one. Thank you, gentlemen, and I will see you soon. Peace.